Good morning, everyone. So glad you could join us today. We really appreciate it. My name is Kurt Stafford. I'm the sales manager here for Western Title, and we have part of our sales team joining us today. I'm joined by Amy Burnham, our sales team leader extraordinaire for Western. Good morning, Amy.
Morning.
And also Carlene Soriano, sales executive extraordinaire covering Redmond, Madras, and Prineville markets. Good morning, Carlene.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. We're very excited.
So we are excited to be with Deborah this morning, Deborah McMahon from the city of Redmond. Deborah will be sharing with us some updates on topics such as projects going on in Redmond. And so we look forward to hearing from you this morning, Deborah. Real quick, I want to let everyone know as we get started, thanks for joining us today. All of the attendees are in listen-only mode. And so if you have questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to post those questions. We know that throughout the webinar, you'll have those questions. So please feel free to post them. You'll find a Q&A tab on the screen somewhere on the bottom or the top, depending on if you're on a laptop or on an iPad. And feel free to post them anytime. We will hold those questions until the end. And so also, just as a reminder, use the Q&A tab and not the chat tab, and that will make sure that we get those questions over to our panel. So good morning, Deborah. So
good morning.
To have you time this morning and expertise, and we appreciate it. We look forward to hearing all of the information that you have to bring us today. With that, we want to turn it over to you and say welcome.
So I want to say thank you to everyone, and want to really focus today on giving you a city development update for Redmond. And many thanks to Western Title for helping produce this, as well as the attendees who are part of this. And I hope it provides some interesting information. You can't do one of these things without getting a lot of help, so I do want to thank our council and leadership, our staff and consultants, and it is fantastic that we have such alignment and leadership to do the things that we do in Redmond. I'm going to start with sharing the screen.
Yep.
Okay, yep. So fabulous photo. Thank you to everyone as noted. And the topics we're going to cover today include a brief review of statistics, comprehensive plan update, and all of the supporting and foundational studies that go into the comprehensive plan. Those are listed there for you. We're going to talk a little bit about our outdoor lifestyle and the extension of the Redmond Trail system through what we call the Tolima Trail, which goes well outside the city, all the way to the Deschutes River, and really provides an enhanced experience for people, and particularly important as we grow. Then the development code update, 330 pages of fascinating data. We'll also talk about House Bill 4079, which is our pilot project that the city was awarded, very similar to what Bend is doing, but ours is a little different, and I'll walk you through that project, as well as the West Redmond Gateway project along the highway between Helmholtz and 35th, and then time for questions. So our impression so far since the impact of COVID-19 is that, like everyone, we're cautious, we're being more strategic. The residential numbers reflect that, and as expected, we're seeing construction continuing because demand for housing continues, and then demand for services, so that commercial and industrial keeps moving forward. Probably for commercial, not as fast as the other sectors, but inquiries to our staff and pre-development meetings are very solid and increasing. We keep records of that, so I think it's very interesting to see what is being provided in those pre-development meetings before an application's being made. That can help people in the development industry understand where the commercial areas are expanding. Industrial's good. As you may or may not know, we have a fabulous inventory of land, 1,000 acres of stuff that is real close to services. We have another 700 or so that is in large lot industrial. And we have a very solid relationship with Reddy and John Stark. Reddy, as you know, is the Redmond Economic Development Inc. group, and they're just down the hall from us in City Hall. So we work together frequently. Nonetheless, whatever happens throughout this COVID process, we're going to monitor, readjust if needed, and stick to our community vision. And I'll explain more of that in just a second. This is a good slide to show you. It gives you an idea of what's happened in 2019 versus 2020, January through April. Not a huge trend showing, but it's interesting information. And then a different way of looking at that, and that is we get to the next quarter and we look at where we are with new building permits and planning permits. We'll have a better picture of this, whether this is a trend or if things are going to stabilize and then move upward from there, which is our in-house prediction. So want to make sure we have these slides available to you. Nothing is for sure, but things are looking pretty good from our perspective, given the activity levels and inquiries that we have. Another interesting slide showing values. So when we look at values as a comparison between the 4 months of this year and last year, we're up 24%. I think that's very encouraging. Our discussions with developers show that they're not stopping their projects, they're moving forward. And like I said, they're just more strategic. The City of Redmond creates reports and can manipulate the information we take in daily to produce all kinds of reports for our customers. This is just one example showing the kinds of permits that come in, the application type, property type, and then values. So if you have a need for a specific report, for example, if you want to know all multifamily development, we can do that for you. All you have to do is request it and we'll pop it out. With regard to our comprehensive plan update, our approach starts with visioning. And one of the things that you have to have when you update the community's comprehensive plan is you really have to touch base with the citizenry to find out what their vision for the future is. It can't be my vision, it can't be staff's vision, it has to come from the citizenry. And we hired wonderful consultants, 3J Consulting, to do the citizen outreach as we started in on our comprehensive plan. They went out and met with people. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with the standard public hearing notices that you see usually in the obituary section of the paper. But, you know, that's not a good way to reach people. And we recognized that, and our consultants went out and talked with a variety of groups. We had fantastic open houses, and a lot of people contributed to telling us how they want the city to be developed over time. The result, in a nutshell, is keep that small town feel, make sure you continue on with your master planning, and make sure that neighborhoods are strong. And strong meaning that we have a variety of housing types, recreation, easy access, safety, all of the things that we want in our neighborhoods, especially if you're raising a family. So the supporting studies for the comprehensive plan include an economic opportunities analysis, taking a look at whether we have adequate levels of employment lands, which are commercial and industrial and mixed use lands. And that will be finished in about a month. Our housing needs analysis has been adopted, and that work really identified the types of housing and the land needs that are required, as well as taking a look at state requirements and making sure that we have the proper densities. As you might imagine, or if you know, the state is behind in providing adequate housing, especially workforce housing. In Redmond, we're behind about 400 units from where we need to be. Overall in the state, it's much, much higher. But for us, we know exactly how many units we need to develop. Transportation System Plan, we often call it the TSP, looks at our roadway networks as well as all modes of travel, whether it's walking, biking, vehicular freight, etc. And that, we just received the final plan last week, and we'll be holding hearings on that. And I've got a schedule of things that are coming before the Planning Commission so that you can stay up to date. And then we're also updating our facilities plan. As you know, a growing city needs sewer, water, etc. And looking at our wastewater treatment plant, we are strongly considering moving the treatment plant out of the North Canyon and utilizing a different type of system on other land that we own outside of the UGB. So that's really interesting. If you like those technical details, make sure to connect with me, and I'll have the city engineer send you over some of those plans. So back to visioning, this is how the consultants really did their outreach. They want to understand the whole community, reflect on those core community values, those strong neighborhoods and small city elements. And then because we have to address state law and we want to know this information, we want to know what the emerging trends are and the issues that face growing communities. And you'll see more of that if you track the comprehensive planning process. There's a lot of documentation that'll explain this in detail. So this is our spreadsheet of upcoming activities, and boy, it's a whopper. On the far left, you'll see in bold the different acronyms that represent the Transportation System Plan, Urban Renewal Expansion along the South Highway Corridor, the Economic Opportunities Analysis, Development Code Update, which includes a new mural code, which is very exciting, and a new sign code. More streamlined, easier to administer, and our goal is to get sign permits out within the week. So we're making changes to the code so we can better serve our citizens. The airport recently did an update to their master plan, so that'll be going to hearing. And I mentioned the public facilities plan for sewer and water. The comp plan, kind of umbrella over everything. We hope all the preceding plans get approved and then they fold into the comp plan, and then we'll adopt the comp plan as a whole. We do have that special project I mentioned that responds to House Bill 4079-2336, the pilot project for affordable housing. And then I'm going to take you through the West Redmond Area Plan, what we call the RAP. And you'll have an opportunity to see that process. So with the development code update, unabashedly, it is a bit of a Frankenstein right now. It's 40 years old. It's been patched over that time period, and our phase 3 code update, the process we're working through now, is really intended to refine the plan, get those code changes in place to better reflect our need, not only for housing, but for modernizing and responding to those policies that will be inserted into the plan and produce the city that we want to see over time. One thing that we've also focused on is increasing the opportunities for recreation and a healthy lifestyle in Redmond. One of the top vote getters through the comprehensive plan process was trails and more recreation, more parks. And so we really want to focus on that as well. And this is just a portion of our zoning map, but right in the center, you'll see that long green snake-like thing. That's our dry canyon. And the majority of our trails link up to it, but they don't go outside the city limits. So the ability to have a 10-mile trails experience, it just doesn't exist right now. So what we're trying to do, and if you can see my cursor over here on the left, we want to go from the North Canyon, take a left, and then out here where my cursor is roughly where the Deschutes River is. And so we want to have a connection to the Deschutes River here, and then down at the bottom of the canyon, come over around Elkhorn and then hit the river in this particular area. Redmond has no visible water source. And so we have that element that makes Bend so special. We want to be able to have our recreationalists have that same experience too. So expanding the trail, what we call the Tolima Trail, will take in over 10 miles of trails, and it's a big project, but over the next 20 years, we hope to get good linkages in place. So the pilot project, what's our goal there? We want to develop more affordable housing. And how are we going to do it? We're going to make it easier to expand the UGB by creating a template or master plan of how you can put in affordable housing and design it into a viable neighborhood. We were very lucky to acquire by donation from Deschutes County. They were so gracious to give us this land. It's 40 acres. We call the project Skyline Village. And you can see Kingwood Avenue at the bottom, Negus Maple at the top, Walmart's just to the left. You can see the High Desert Sports Complex up to the right. And then we're just very close to the Radlands, which is a biking experience and hiking experience. On this 40 acres, we are taking everything from ground zero and bringing forward a very interesting plan. And you can see where we circled on the existing East Side Framework Plan, which is a pre-planning process we did with the county back in 2007, that the House Bill 4079 site is right in that circle. It really kicks off the East Side Framework Plan, so it has good cohesion to the city. It doesn't sit by itself. We have employment lands around it. And this is the kind of neighborhood we hope to achieve. 485 units, half of which will be affordable, meaning that it's 80% area median income or less, and half will be market rate. And it will be mixed use and mixed income. And what that means is that the uses mix, whether vertically or horizontally, but mixed income means that if you have an apartment building, you're not segregating off to the side the affordable housing units, nor are you segregating the market rate units. They're all mixed in. The design rules for this project will make sure that we have great Central Oregon vernacular design with sloped roofs or other types of development features. And if you look at the very top where it's kind of an orange color, that's where we anticipate townhomes to be. A nice park along the access way. Across the way in the lighter green, opportunities for fourplexes. And then the purple is an area for cottages served by their own park. And so the cottages would be dotted around that. And you'll see a photo of what this means in just a little bit. Areas for apartments and linear parks that lead from one park to another, so that like a string of pearls, you've got an opportunity to walk as far as you want, loop back in. If you want to go farther, great. In fact, we have great connections to sports complex across the street and then the Radlands. So there's opportunity for all age types here. And then down at the bottom where the blue is, that's the primary entrance where we have a transit stop and a very small service area, about 3,000 square feet, and then opportunities to expand if we see developers needing to do that. So a very flexible plan that provides a full range of housing types. It's not all single family dwellings, and it really takes a look at the elements that create a very interesting neighborhood. And there's more details coming up here. An idea of our apartments, fourplexes, townhomes, studios above, opportunities for daycare. And then in our largest mixed-use building, you can see on the first floor that we have commercial and service, and then 3 stories of housing above. And there are opportunities to mix and match this as well. Really super important to have those community services nearby so that people aren't making extra trips into town. This is the greatest photo ever of how we could do cottage development. It's small footprint, usually under 1,000 square feet. You could have some outdoor storage buildings, but you can see you're focused on a central green area, and with proper design and planting requirements, it becomes a wonderful lifestyle for singles, seniors, and people with very small families. So there's obviously actions in process for the timeline to complete this. Step 1 has been completed, the land's been donated. We're following through on land use entitlements. We just made our application to the county last week, and that's for expanding the UGB. We'll be making an application to the city of Redmond for the master planning. And then we'll hire the master developer and get going on marketing the property for various types of development to individual developers. We had 8 solid requests to be involved in the project from local developers. And we think that's a fantastic way to proceed, engage the community and keep the jobs local. So City of Redmond is not developing the project. The master developer will be doing that. And then the accompanying developers take over from there. So it is a phased process. All right, the West Redmond Area Plan. We love this project, and I'll tell you why. Because right now we have 100 or so acres between 35th, which is right here, follow my cursor, along the highway to Sisters, and then Helmholtz here. So within that circle, there's about 100 acres. That big blue thing is BPA, so that's the big Bonneville Power Administration site. And we really want to do something different here to improve the gateway to Redmond. And what we're going to do, and the Planning Commission's working on it now, they're doing great work, is building a new neighborhood that also includes employment lands. And it's really going to be interesting. The City of Redmond utilizes what we call the Great Neighborhood Principles. They are requirements that we follow in order to develop new neighborhoods. And for this area, we really need to develop a lifestyle center. And that means you can live close to shopping and services, that we have the ability to do creative density. You can see in the background on this rendering, 1, 2, 3, 4-story structures that front on plazas and open space, have the ability to use the first floor for commercial, office, small retail. And then, you know, within that plaza, we have the shopping experience. You can get your coffee, you can walk your children. It's just a really nice destination for the neighborhood. And we think this is the way to go when we start creating new neighborhoods and balance the need for density, which we can't avoid, with design. And the design really has to flow within these areas And of course, that is something that relates to our master plan requirements. No land in Redmond can be annexed to the city unless it has a full master plan. And for this project at the West Redmond Gateway area, this is the master plan the Planning Commission will be working on. Not this example, but this is a representation of how master planning works. Why is master planning so important? It's because we build our city a neighborhood at a time. And because we have many mixed-use neighborhoods that utilize land more efficiently and provide amenities back to the people who live nearby, we believe this is what sets Redmond apart, where we have a good way to predict how the future will look for people, and it will give citizens the opportunity to know for the next 20 years where development is expected and where we can predict growth patterns. So that's really helpful for our citizens. It helps them prepare for the upcoming growth that's anticipated. So with that, I'm out of air, and I'll leave it open for questions. And I believe Kurt and Carlene, you have, or Amy, you have questions ready?
Yeah, so let's field a couple of questions. You guys see questions there that you can pose to Deborah?
Yeah, so Deborah, looks like we have two that have come through already. One from a little earlier on, we have Jean Nelson asking, does Redmond have sign rules for realtors like Bend does?
Oh, well, we have rules that are very flexible for property sales information. And we don't have, for example, on Aubrey Butte, you're limited by the CC&Rs to a very small real estate sign. We don't have things like that in Redmond. We do allow generous sizing for real estate signs and construction signs. If a development has CC&Rs that controls that, we can't stop those regulations. They trump anything that we plan to do. So right now, I'm not aware Redmond has the small signage restrictions that Bend has.
Thank you. Next one is from an anonymous. Do you see any conflicts with airport noise issues with its growth and with the future Skyline Village residents?
No, the reason I don't is because we examined that site very carefully, and its distance from the airport, the flight patterns, the fact that we do have a regional airport that people are aware of. New development will be required to sign non-remonstrances so that we don't have confusion in the future. But overall, no, we don't anticipate a conflict. But everybody's pretty aware that the regional airport's active and productive, and it is part of our community as well.
Okay, thank you. We have two more here, it looks like, from Chris Reese. One is, who will control the ARC for the Skyline project?
It will be the city, and we will manage that until it's transferred to either the individual developer developing, and there will be standards that are set up that are deed restrictions so that we can maintain affordability for the minimum 50 years that the state requires, and then have these guidelines be a living document for any phase of the development.
She also asks, will each section of Skyline have an HOA?
Yes, we believe that will be the case. We have different product types with different demands and amenity needs, so we expect that to happen. If one developer is selected to do the whole project, you could have one set of documents with subsections, but I anticipate different HOAs for each type of housing style there, whether it's cottage, fourplex, apartments. There's just different needs that are required in those areas.
Sure. It looks like that is it for questions. If there's any other questions out there, please go ahead and submit them now. Oh, looks like we just had one come through.
Yeah, as a reminder, use the Q&A tab and not the chat tab so we can see them come in. Thanks so much. So we'll continue. Yeah, looks like one more came in, right?
Yeah, we just got one new one from Dan. He asks, how do we balance a new neighborhood wrap with commercial retail activity against segments to generate interest in rejuvenating the central business district?
Okay, that's a great question. And what we're trying to do is look at within a half-mile radius how many rooftops and population groups we have close to the West Redmond area. And our economic opportunities analysis consultant has been working with us to develop a strategy where we're serving the immediate neighborhood and what the growth area is out there. We're not trying to serve the entire community. So it would be a bad thing to take development potential away from downtown. That's not our purpose. We're looking out half-mile radius and try to serve those people. Don't forget, we have growing areas near Eagle Crest with the Thornburg Resort. We're going to have over 1,000 new units out there. What we don't want them doing is driving all the way into Fred Meyer's when they could go to the West Redmond area and pick up their grocery services. So, you know, when you think about distributing community services, we look at that population area and then make sure that's what we're serving, not the whole community. We're not doing a Costco there, and disappointing as that may be for people, but we're not trying to be a regional destination, but more of a neighborhood destination.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it looks like we have one more. It sounds like it's a specific property question, and they are wondering if they can get your email. Do you mind sharing your email live for everyone if there's any questions they want to reach out to you for, Deborah?
Yeah, no problem. It's on the city website. Otherwise, it's Deborah, DEBORAH.McMahon at redmondoregon.gov.
Perfect. I will type that in here as well, just in case.
Thank you so much for your time, Deborah. We really appreciate it. And it looks like we had another one come in too here. What is the projected timeline to get housing online at East Side site?
Oh, so for the pilot project site, we're hoping in the mid-2021. So that's our plan. We may be delayed a little bit because of COVID and some of the restrictions that come up on that. But keep in mind, we have sewer and water on the south side for up to 125 units. That's a great start right now. Mm. And then on the north side, which completes the expansion of the utilities for this project, will accommodate the remaining portion of the 485 units. I'm hoping we can squeeze it a little higher to 500, but for now we have great capability of moving forward on that timeline.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's all the questions that we see come in here. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. Really appreciate your time and expertise, Deborah. Thanks a million for being with us. And thanks everybody for joining. As a reminder, this is a recorded webinar, so if you missed any part of it or you want to recap or review any of it, it will be on our Facebook feed just within a few days. So I want to thank you very much again for joining us, and enjoy your day. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.